complicated matter, a lot of legal stuff in here. So,
Okay.
you ready? All right. My name is Justin Johnson. I'm here today to talk about constitutional rights and what we can do to protect them and also to remedy those who have their constitutional rights violated. I'm talking more specifically about how constitutional rights violations can result in wrongful convictions and then wrongful imprisonments. It's an extensive topic, and I've tried to sum it up as best as I can, so I ask that you bear with me and allow me 5 uninterrupted minutes to address this issue. Flawed legislature that permits open violation of our constitutional rights is a matter for both levels of Ohio's legislative departments to look into, and it should be an issue that they address with priority given the importance of our constitutional rights. As you may or may not know, Ohio's wrongful imprisonment and court of claim acts sections of the revised code are flawed and are in fact unconstitutional. I've been recently impacted by these flaws in a series of unfortunate events. I was accused of a crime that I was 100% innocent of, and I proved my innocence in the trial when the jury found me not guilty of these charges. The judge then sent me to prison anyways, with total disregard to the jury's verdict and my right to jury trial, just because he felt his day had to end with a successful conviction. Now, what resulted in this judge's hasty and mistaken decision was an injustice and a violation to my right to a jury trial guaranteed by the 6th Amendment, the Ohio Constitution, and Ohio Revised Code. It was a denial of substantive due process and a violation of the Ohio Rules of Criminal Procedure. The key point to this presentation is to show that the entry for constitutional rights violations and wrongful imprisonment statute is necessary not only because these rights are recognized as focal points in our democracy, but because these violations can cause innocent men and women to be locked up and unable to prove their innocence like the law requires for remedy. The 14th Amendment says no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny it to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And here I was in exactly that situation. I've tried to seek remedy for this injustice under Ohio's wrongful imprisonment statute, but the language of the statute is heavily flawed. Now, being that this is a matter dealing with flawed legislature, constitutional rights violations, and such an extreme injustice as wrongful imprisonment, I believe this is a matter that everybody holding an office dealing with the law should be working around the clock to find a resolution for this matter, and should not be opposed to a fair bill introduced that corrects the issue or be trying to play neutral. Ohio Representative Seitz of Cincinnati had been working to fix this flaw, but kept running into problems with people opposed to it who said it would be too inclusive and would allow those who were guilty of the crime but had their convictions overturned because of technicality to be compensated. The opposition said that it would increase payouts by millions of dollars and that the wrongful imprisonment statute was created to remedy those who had been convicted of a crime that they had not committed and not for those who had avoided criminal liability. To which I unfortunately must say that consequently having to pay an individual who committed the crime is going to be the casualty of and an incentive to making those who enforce the law abide by it as well. Without these rights enforced and remedied for violation of them, courtrooms are free to be held judge, jury, and executioner style, and that is exactly what happened in my situation. Furthermore, the decision of rather to do the right thing shouldn't be stopped by the outcome if it can and should be prevented at the source. Meaning, if our judges and prosecutors can't conduct their duties in accordance with the law, with the possibility of adverse effects looming, then they obviously require additional training because some of the constitutional rights relating to judicial procedure are as old as this country itself. And as far as the payouts costing the state millions, well, currently the payout is a measly $52,000 per year of wrongful imprisonment. That amount is a slap in the face to somebody who is innocent of a crime and railroaded, not even mentioning the atrocities, the filth, the food, the fights, the rapes, the stabbing, correctional officer disrespect, forced labor, loss of freedom, emotional distress, cost of family visits, phone calls, etc. It should cost millions, at least $1 million for each year. The state obviously has no problem undeservingly giving somebody the title criminal, so it should be fine with giving the injured party the title of millionaire for such an egregious injury caused on his part by paying out at least $1 million for each year of illegal confinement. Ohio's biennial budget for 2017 and 18 is $63.7 billion. If wrongful imprisonment claims can scratch that at $2 million a year, then we have a serious problem. How much is your time worth to you, and how much more is that time when you factor in prison conditions to the equation? But anyways, the amount is only $52,000 per year of wrongful imprisonment. So if it supposedly already cost Ohio millions, how often does this happen? Or how long does it take to release the individual? And as far as escaping criminal liability, how have you escaped criminal liability if you served the time already? Representative Seitz has since completely revised his bill in order to get less traction from the head prosecutors and other opponents at the sacrifice of many of the constitutional rights that he was originally advocating for. His bill will only remedy situations involving Brady violations, a constitutional right of equal importance as the others. Mind you, this resolution was reached in a meeting between Representative Seitz, the director of the Innocence Project, and attorney Terry Gilbert, who primarily deals in Brady violations, and the prosecutors, who know that it must be introduced but would like to keep it as limited as possible. The fact of the matter is that I will never be afforded a fair trial on these charges. I will never be allowed to prove my innocence and remedy for the time I served under an illegal conviction, even though I'm supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. It will never be retried, but I did time for this crime already. I was taken away from my family and my everyday life without due process of the law. I've spent the last 2 years looking into wrongful imprisonment ever since I was hurled back into the system for a crime I had not committed. And because of this, I was able to draw up the most fair resolution to this issue, which ironically ended up looking like what Representative Seitz had drawn up before he met with the Legion of Doom. I have my version as Representative Seitz's previous version, and I believe that if I may speak for myself and my fellow injured parties, to anybody who can interpret the law, and anybody with a respect for the Constitution and doing what's right, that these are the amendments to introduce. I've recorded a lengthier video detailing the flaws, the laws, and the solutions. Please make this one and the other available to you and your fellow senators at the next Senate session on October 11th, and the House Speaker and the other representatives at the next House session also on the 11th. I would also ask that you and your staff contact me about this issue after it has been addressed here today and brought directly to you, the Senate President's office, so that we may work on a solution to this problem together, because this is not a matter of political affiliation or which senators and representatives are handle which district. Like I said earlier, anybody and everybody holding a position dealing with Ohio's legislative process should be meeting to resolve this matter, and all of you should be co-sponsoring a fair bill and a just bill to this matter, keeping in mind that some people may slip through the cracks, but that will be on the liability of the state and our judges, prosecutors, and so on for conducting court in error. They need to be held to a standard to minimize this problem, because our violations to our constitutional rights aren't just wrong because they're given value within our democracy, but also because they can also send innocent people to prison because our state officials and employees jumped the gun. And that's it. Sorry, it was a little long, but.
Do you happen to know the bill number for Bill Seitz?
It was supposed to be being introduced this week, so it might not have.
So it hasn't even been introduced.
No, it
yet.
doesn't have a bill number yet.
I know that Representative Sykes has been working. Has been working on this issue at least as long as Senator Ophoff has been in the Senate, because we worked with him back in 2011 when the Attorney General's office was seeking some changes kind of the other direction in the state budget, and so this is actually an issue that Senator Ophoff has a great deal of familiarity with, from having worked directly with then Senator Seitz on the issue. So, and I know that they still talk about this issue today. So it is something that Senator Ophoff has been working directly on.
That's great, man, because really, I mean, we can't really, stand by and let this happen, because, it can keep happening, man. I mean, essentially, I could have been just snatched off the streets and taken to prison. I mean, I was pretty much kidnapped for real when it boiled down.
You mentioned in your case, the jury verdict was not guilty, and the judge set that aside? Still
sent me to prison, yes.
But he technically set it aside.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then did you end up winning on appeal then?
I went on appeal. I came back, and the jury cited. My lawyer argued that there wasn't enough evidence to find me guilty.
Right.
And the appeals court, of course, sided with the trial court and said, it was enough evidence for a rational trier of fact to find him guilty.
Right.
But the judge is not under the title rational trier of fact if I don't sign a jury waiver and give him the ability to decide my case, decide my fate in the case.
Right.
So ultimately,
the jury verdict prevailed.
Yeah. I mean, the jury verdict was overridden when he decided to.
But I meant in appeal. Then was.
The jury verdict. They sustained the fact that the judge violated my constitutional rights to a jury trial, and they brought me back. And then they set the trial to be tried again on June 26th, and they kept coming with me with deals like plead guilty, you'll get out today. I kept denying them, like no, I'm going to prove my innocence. I didn't do this. So then they set it for trial June 26th. June 23rd comes. The prosecutor has a hearing to dismiss the charges, but she dismisses them without prejudice, meaning that she can bring these charges in the future. Now there's a spot in the revised code that says if the prosecutor can bring these charges in the future, then you don't have a case. Now the problem with that is that the statute of limitations for my charge is running concurrent with the wrongful imprisonment statute of limitations. So if these two expire at the same time, then I'm dead in the water. So that's a problem. That was something that Representative Seitz was addressing and trying to get taken out of there.
Right.
But the prosecutor said, well, we need that in there just for an added limitation on who can get in or not. You know what I mean? So that was an issue in there. There's an issue with the judge deciding the outcome in the Court of Claims. That's a violation of an individual's 7th Amendment right to a jury trial in a civil case. That's something that needs to be fixed. The amount is low, and I mean I've just about become an attorney on this matter.
Well, it sounds like you become very conversant.
Yeah, I got a lot. I got so much case law on this stuff, and that's what I did for the last nearly 18 months. Just about 2 years. I still continue to do it today, and I'm just hoping that we can find a nice resolution to this that won't allow too many people any people to get in that committed the crime.
I don't know what the content of Representative Seitz' bill is going to be, but obviously, if it makes its way over to the Senate, it's something that I'm sure the representative will be in plenty of contact with Senator Alpoff about. As I said, they have a long-standing relationship.
Right.
So,
he's not been answering my calls, man. I've been calling. Once I found out that his bill was completely flopped, and I don't even know if this is something that people can get in trouble for. Yeah, I've been calling his office for 4 weeks now. And I get a voicemail. I've sent letters and everything, trying to,
I know that he only has the one staff member, I think. So they are a little limited.
Yeah.
Most of the members are a little limited in terms of the amount of.
Yeah, but 4 weeks though, I don't know. But
well, I can't speak to what his office has been up to for the last few weeks.
Okay.
So, but like I said, if his bill makes it over to the Senate, he actually speaks pretty frequently with President Alpoff, so I'm sure he'll be in touch to make sure that Senator Alpoff understands the contents of it. And as I said, this is a topic that they've worked together on before, going back to the first year that Senator Alpoff was in the legislature.
Okay.
So it's something that the two of them have a lot of familiarity with each other on. I don't, not knowing the contents of this bill, I can't really say where Senator Alpoff will be on it, but it's something that I'm sure the dialogue will be.
Yeah, I had been working with Vernon Sykes' office on this matter, and like I said, we drew up a bill that it was very similar to what Representative Seitz had at first before he conformed to stop everybody from complaining about the bill. It was very identical to that, and they have it over there. I have a copy of it myself, but I'm now living out here in Wadsworth, and I thought that might be something that since now Mr. Alpoff is now my senator, maybe you guys in your office can contact me about this matter. But like I said, this is nothing that anybody can be neutral on or decide to I don't want to touch that. This isn't like marijuana regulation where we can say, oh, I'm not going to get involved with that, I'm neutral or anything like that. This is our constitutional rights. This is something that everybody holding a legal position with the law should be trying to fix. You know what I mean? So at the end of this, I just ask that you, if possible, share this video with fellow representatives, fellow Senate members, because I've addressed everything. I've brought you guys everything I've got. I don't really even have too much more. I've got more case law, but as far as I know, I'm the only one fighting this fight or fighting this fight as thorough as I am. And I just ask that you share this amongst each other, and maybe reach out to Vernon Sykes' office, start combing through the bill, finding what you don't like, what you do like, and we move from there. But you know.
Could you give us your contact information?
Yeah, sure thing.
Yeah, and thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
This is not an area that I'm familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have the same background as Senator Obhoff, but certainly I'm interested in. I had served with obviously Representative Seitz, and not privy to what he's working on. So I will certainly be doing my homework to evaluate it.
Okay.
It not likely going in any of the committees that I currently sit on, but I certainly will be taking an interest in it.
Okay.
And appreciate the contact information.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
In terms of moving forward, you know, we can't promise any specific outreach to you to keep you updated, but if you want to contact us, we're happy to always give you whatever update we can.
Yeah,
We just have too many people who would otherwise ask for those updates on a regular basis to promise that. But anytime you want to give us a call, you know, once the bill's introduced, we're happy to fill you in on, you know, any status updates that we can in terms of where it is in the committee process.
I do have a technical question. It has to do with, you make a proposal going from the 52,000, which I presume that's punitive compensatory
That
for
is-
false imprisonment, or for wrongful imprisonment?
That doesn't cover punitive damages at all. The court of
Okay, so
claims-
that's just for
Yeah, that's
wrongful
just for
imprisonment.
the-
It's not punitive,
Mhm.
okay.
And-
Like, I'm not familiar with the
and
statutes.
I don't think that there are any punitive damages that you can get because it's the states so that have.
Got it,
sovereign
okay,
immunity.
that'll make some sense. And you propose to move that to $1 million. Would, and I just thinking, you know, theoretically, just off the top of my head, would putting it that high a price make it more difficult to get a judgment? Basically getting somebody that's innocent and a finding that they were wrongfully imprisoned because there's such a high price
You know what I
put
think?
onto it? I'm just
No,
asking.
no, you're good. What I think might happen is it might be a little harder for, to get that change pushed through because, you know, I don't want to say this the wrong way. Ohio has got a tendency to only half do the right thing. So
Right.
like, okay, we'll do you this, but we're only gonna do, you know, we're only gonna make this part of it right. So
Right.
really, it might, you know, it wouldn't be a problem awarding the compensation to the individual, but probably getting the whole amount changed for real. And
Well, my question is the person, the individual out there, for a wrongful imprisonment finding, that have to be a court, correct? It'd be another judge, appeals court or Supreme Court, would have to say wrongful imprisonment. And so my question is do you think that would influence the judgment of that judge or panel of judges, knowing that it has such a high, if you go, price tag to it? In other words, there's like an incentive not to.
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm a historian in background and so forth,
no.
and I can think historically of conditions where things have been presented. It's like, well, that sounds like a great idea, but what it did is incentivize the people to not do the right thing, and that's my question.
No, I guess ultimately it's up to the trial court to, you know, review everything that happened with your situation, and then they make the determination of whether you were wrongfully imprisoned. But really, if the appeal court cites that your constitutional rights were violated, then you're in there automatically, like I would be in there. And you know, the other way to get in there is if you prove your innocence. I mean, if you prove your innocence, then obviously you were wrongfully imprisoned. You know what I mean? I'm prevented from proving my innocence because the trial was dismissed without prejudice. So this prosecutor will never bring these charges again. But here I am, just, you know, floating in the ocean, man. So
now, is this over in Akron? Or
this is Canton, Ohio. From Canton, Ohio.
Sure, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I moved out to Akron when I was released from prison, and now I'm staying out here on College Street in Wadsworth.
Oh,
so,
very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you bringing it to my attention. I'm certainly
definitely.
you can communicate with Senator Obhoff's office on this one. That they're in the best position to certainly to try to address and certainly take into consideration your thoughts. And certainly, as this works its way through the committee process, if you have some other thoughts, please let me know, as our offices know as well.
Okay, yeah, definitely. And I can, I guess I will contact you guys next week or something. I can shoot you a copy of this video, what, you know, happened between us. Maybe share it with everybody that you can. And I've got defenses to the changes that I've drawn up and why they're necessary. You know, I've got a whole lot to accompany this, and you know, hopefully we can work something out. So, all right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was nice meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice day.